Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week, Helen of Wyndhorn, issue number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. This is written by Tom King with artwork by Bill Key Evely, with coloring by Mateus Lopez, and we got lettering by Clayton Cowles, a top-notch team on a top-notch book. This one really took me by surprise. I was not super anticipating it, but was expecting to at least like the artwork in this book, but I really liked the story, and more so than that, the technical and structural way that Tom King is telling it, right? Now, you know that I've been up and down with Tom King here lately, but this one is definitely an up for me. I feel like sometimes Tom King just gets a little bit in his own way. That does not happen here. So it's a story about this woman who's inheriting her father's wealth. He was a writer. Her grandfather has hired a caretaker to come and find her and bring her back to the family estate at Wyndhorn. And there's some kind of mystery about this family. There's some kind of mystery about this place, about this estate. And that gets revealed by the end, and it's not going to take anybody by surprise, but it was still a really cool and compelling way to get there to the end of this story. The character, first of all, Helen, is absolutely awesome. I love her. She's like a 16-year-old, but she's picked up some of the bad habits from her father, including excessive drinking, a lot of smoking, a lot of cursing, and just a lot of bad attitude, and I totally vibe with that type of character. But this book is really elevated by the artwork. Now, we've seen this team together on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and even though that artwork was gorgeous, I felt like the narration and the dialogue were trying to fight with each other, and it just came across not really quite to my taste. That is all ironed out here in Helen of Wyndhorn. I feel like structurally and technically speaking, the narration and the dialogue, they work so well together in concert together to make a really engaging comic all the way through. But it is the art that is the masterpiece. This is amazing artwork. Great coloring, great composition, a great flow, and awesome lettering, but the artwork with a delicate and complex line. Lots of detail. Nice spotting of blacks when it needs to be, but also big, bright, vibrant pages that you could just look at and oogle at for hours. I absolutely loved this book. I was taken completely by surprise. There's nothing super original about it, but it's just a well-done comic with some astounding artwork. So Helen of Wyndhorn, that's your pick of the week. Let's jump over to Marvel. We got Ghost Rider Final Vengeance issue number 1. Benjamin Percy is still writing this. He's been writing the Ghost Rider book. Now, I got a lot of people all the time. They tell me they really like the Ghost Rider book. Rockin' Robbie, you need to check it out. You need to jump on. And every time I do, it just doesn't quite work for me. Mostly, that's because of the art. The art here is not to my liking at all. I mean, the artist, I'm sure, is talented, but the coloring really holds this back. The colorist is trying to mold and shape with the colors on line work that doesn't fit the way that they're trying to mold or shade it, and it does not work for me, and it feels very odd and off-putting. Now, the story is about the Spirit of Vengeance, who has now been asked by Mephisto to leave Johnny Blaze, and throughout this entire first issue, it's bouncing from host to host to host, until it winds up into who the new host of the Spirit of Vengeance is going to be. Now, they have revealed that already, but in case you don't know, and you're a Ghost Rider fan, I don't want to spoil it for you, but that is the most intriguing thing about this book. That is what is going to be the only thing that encourages me to check out issue number 2, and if you already know that surprise, this whole issue is just getting there, so it feels like most of this issue is kind of wasted, and it's told from the perspective, the point of view of the Spirit of Vengeance, and it comes across rather wonky, trite, and not very good. So this one just didn't do it for me. Ghost Rider Final Vengeance, I don't know what to tell you. Then we got Black Widow and Hawkeye issue number 1. This is written by Stephanie Phillips, and it's alright. It's okay. I guess if you're a big hardcore Black Widow fan, check it out. That's her next adventure is right here. If you're a big hardcore Hawkeye fan, I guess check it out. This is his next adventure here. He's basically been framed for killing this Russian ambassador who's in America for peace talks. Everybody thinks Hawkeye killed him. He's on the run, and Black Widow's chasing after him. Yes, it sounds like it's way too influenced by the MCU. Even some of the artwork is way too influenced by the MCU. Do we think that we're being clever now when we recreate scenes from the MCU in the comics? Because plenty of people have been doing that since the comics. Here's the thing. The comics came first. Be proud of that. Do something original. Do something exciting. Do something that's worthy of making a movie about. Don't just copy and paste what you think worked in a movie into a comic book. That being said, this might work for some people, but it didn't really necessarily work for me. Then we got Ultimate Black Panther issue number 2. This is a book that worked for me. So far, I've been liking the Ultimate books. I know a lot of people are loving Ultimate Spider-Man. Black Panther, they were a little bit more on the fence about. And Ultimate X-Men, you either love that one or hate that one, apparently. There's a lot of divisive commentary out there right now. I like all of these books. Black Panther is the one book out of all the Ultimate books that is the most similar to the 616 counterpart. Like T'Challa is king of Wakanda. He is the Black Panther. Certain little things are different. Okoye is his wife and queen of Wakanda. Killmonger's still out there. Is he paired up with Storm? There's a lot of interesting differences, but what I love about this book is the political intrigue. This idea of a nation who has been hidden, who is now being approached with war, and how they are going to not just defend themselves, but how they even deal with it, right? And the question of even if they should be involved. Really interesting, giant kind of themes that are being dealt with by Brian Hill in an excellent way. And even though T'Challa is a very stoic character and is portrayed as such, as he rightly should be so, it still allows you to kind of get inside of his head to feel his emotions. I like the artwork. I like this story. I think if you were on the fence with issue number 1, check out issue number 2 because it starts ratcheting up some of that tension, starts building up a little bit more of this narrative and picking up a little bit more momentum. It's got some nice stuff. It's not an action-heavy book, but it is heavy in action as far as the political intriguing goes. And I like that, and I'm here for it. I do like the art. I do like the story. The coloring is really solid. And there are some really great moments in here of Black Panther action. But it is a lot of talking, but it's a lot of setup. And that's what I like. I like this slow burn approach to the Ultimate Universe right now. And it's just something we're going to get. This is super decompressed storytelling, but it seems like it all is there for a methodical reason and is going to pay off. And issue 2 of Ultimate Black Panther really sold me on this book. Then we've got Avengers Twilight issue number 4. Wow. Chip Zdarsky, Daniel Acuna, they're killing it on this book. It's an Elseworlds what-if type tale set in the future. Red Skull has taken over secretly running the United States through the son of Tony Stark. Captain America, as an old man, has to take the super soldier serum and combat this evil that has taken over the country, and he's doing so with the help of some old friends and some new friends when he reforms the Avengers. The artwork is great. It's got a dark, moody quality to it that really fits the atmosphere provided by the world that's being built by Chip Zdarsky, and the coloring really frickin' works. Everything pops out. Like I said, it's got that atmosphere, but at the same time, it's still an action-packed, kinetic, exciting comic book. This is some really solid, good stuff. Thor enters the fray, as you can tell on this cover. What's going to happen? Lots of thunder and lightning. So there you go. Then we got What If Venom issue number 2. I'm just not liking it. So this series is what if the Venom symbiote bonded with someone else. In the first issue, it was She-Hulk. That story directly continues into this one, which is what if the symbiote took over Wolverine, and it just comes across as silly. I don't like the artwork. I hate the coloring. Just wasn't vibing with this one. I thought I could stick this one through, and I just can't. I would have preferred a series of one-shots of what if Venom took over She-Hulk. One and done self-contained story. What if Venom took over Wolverine? One and done self-contained story. The next one, what if Venom took over Doctor Strange? One and done self-contained story. Trying to thread it all together into one narrative and make it connected really, unfortunately for me, pulls me completely out of it. I'm not digging it. What if Venom? That's probably my last one right there. Then we got Symbiote Spider-Man 2099. Okay, so the Spider-Man 2099 books. This has been a series of miniseries for a few years now, mostly written by Steve Orlando. That is not what this is following. This is not following the stuff from the Orlando books. This is written by Peter David, and it is a direct continuation from his last issue of Spider-Man 2099. And I guess I like it for that. If you're a fan of that old school Spider-Man 2099, and maybe you don't know, but those last two issues were done without Peter David, but he's picking up from where he left off and continuing the story. So if you're a fan of that, you're going to be a fan of this. If you're not plugged into that, I don't think you're really going to like this one. It was just an okay comic. All right, then we got Amazing Spider-Man 45. This one's kind of all over the place. Gang war is over. My patience is wearing thin on this book. And what are we going to do with this book? Well, we're going to set up a little bit more of the Norman and Peter stuff because they've kind of regulated that to the back burner since Gang War, so that's cool. And we're picking up on some more little threads here and there. And there's a nice little ending here. But most of this issue is cleaning up some stuff from like X-Men 29 or something where Mary Jane's aunt has been given this Krakoan virus or I have no idea. It feels so out of place. Feels just like what's going on. I do appreciate the moment to step back, but it feels like this is mostly just, oh crap, we got all these plot threads left dangling. They're about to do Fall of X and we haven't finished that yet. Let's go ahead and finish that. So it was all right. Didn't really work for me. Amazing Spider-Man's it's been very inconsistent, and mostly lately it's been kind of lackluster. All right, let's jump over to DC. We've got Suicide Squad Dream Team issue number 1, Countdown to Absolute Power. That's the big event that DC's doing this summer, led by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora. Amanda Waller is consolidating power in the DC universe. I love the vibe. I love the direction. Here's her putting together yet another team of the Suicide Squad to go into Gamora. I think that's fine, or Gamera, whatever that country's called that Bendix was a part of, from the Wildstorm stuff. This one just didn't work for me. I mean, the artwork was okay, but the story just never really captured me. She's got a new Suicide Squad team. She's got another mission. She's doing this. It just sounds like the last Suicide Squad number 1 I read and the Suicide Squad number 1 I read before that. And it's just not doing anything different. And it doesn't feel like it's super plugged into what's going on. I guess if you want to follow Amanda Waller and her consolidation of power, I think read Josh Williamson's Green Arrow. This one just doesn't work for me. It's very dreamer centered, and that's fine, but they don't really do anything to make me care about anything going on in this book. So this one just fell a little flat for me. Actually, a lot flat. Then we've got Action Comics 1063. This is the final issue of this I, Bizarro story from Jason Aaron. The first issue of it, I loved. I shouted to the hilltops. I told everybody, this is great. One of the best Bizarro stories I've ever read. Very exciting. And then issue 2 came and it was all right, but I was like, all right, let's pull this back together. Then issue 3 is here, and this is the final issue of the story because we have to start the House of Brainiac thing. And it didn't pull it off for me. It just did not work. Lots of great setup in that first issue. I thought it did set itself up to be the definitive Bizarro story. But then it just kind of weakened and it ended just kind of okay. It was all right. The artwork's decent. The coloring on the cover's great. But all in all, I feel a little bit disappointed in Jason Aaron's arc here on Action Comics. A great promise at the start, but didn't really deliver or live up to it. Then we got Batman and Robin issue number 7. Josh Williamson is doing a great job with the character of Damian Wayne and Bruce Wayne and how they are learning to be father and son. Now this is stuff that like Peter Tomasi was working on, and Joshua Williamson's picking up from that torch. He's grabbing that torch, he's running with it, right? In this issue, we got the return of Flatline, who was one of my favorite characters from the Robin run that Josh did, and now Flatline shows up. Robin likes her, she likes Robin, now she's got to meet the dad, and that's Batman. But there's a mystery here, there's some secrets, they get a little bit revealed, and then Shush comes back, and all this cult of the Man-Bat stuff, I'm really digging it. Simone DeMio's artwork too, very dynamic, really fun, and I really like it. So Batman and Robin has been really helping me out. Batman and Robin's been working for me. Then we got Green Lantern here with issue number 9. Another great issue of Green Lantern. Jeremy Adams had a very solid run on Flash. This run on Green Lantern is starting out even better. Really great stuff. We get the mystery of why Hal Jordan has his power still. Even though he's been kicked out of the Corps by the United Planets, he's got a ring. He's got a power. How? We find that revelation out here in this issue. We also get Jeremy trying to kind of recontextualize and add an element to why there are so many Earth-based lanterns, playing with the mythology, playing with the lore, but not too much, just right, tweaking it just enough to make a very exciting comic. Hal Jordan is in great hands with Jeremy Adams, and it's starting to give me vibes of the early part of Jeff Johns' run, right before it exploded into the awesomeness of the Sinestro Corps War and into Blackest Night. So there you go. Outsiders number 5 is here, and I've been loving this book so far. It's a direct sequel to Planetary, but firmly set in the DC universe. But this issue did not work for me. I did not like this issue. I did not see the point of it. I was never fully engaged into the book, and it never really pulled me in and kept my attention. That being said, I like this book still. I like the structure, one and done stories kind of contained in the DC universe, but from that Planetary type vibe. But in this one, it feels like it's just trying a little bit too hard. And it doesn't work for me, and it falls flat. Now, it's not a deal breaker because the previous 4 issues have been great, including issue number 4, which I thought was like the best of the series yet. But 5 for me was a little bit of a lull. Red Hood, The Hill, issue number 2, confusing. I am unplugged into what's going on in this book. Now, I read issue number 1, and I've had the same idea. I don't really vibe with this, don't really feel it, but maybe I need to go back and reread The Hill number 0, which collects all the short stories that led up to this run. I did that, reread 1, read 2, still disconnected, still not enjoying it. I like the artwork from Sanford Green. I think Sean Martinborough is a good creator, but this book's just not pulling me in. I don't know these characters. I'm not relating to them. It seems like too much, too fast, too soon. So it's just not working for me. Then we got Sinister Sons, issue number 2. I liked issue number 1. Peter Tomasi basically doing an evil inverted version of Super Sons, right? It's the son of Sinestro, the son of Zod, and an unlikely team up, or should I say, it's not a team up because they kind of don't like each other. So it's playing with the inversion of the idea of Super Sons, and the first issue was fun and it had its charm to it. Issue 2 has a little bit of that charm, but that polish has kind of been dulled just a little bit, and the artwork starts getting a bit inconsistent and a bit empty, and it just doesn't carry on any momentum that was built up in issue number 1, and it kind of loses me really quickly. Then we got Wesley Dodds Sandman, issue number 6. This is the final issue from Robert Venditti and Riley Rossmo. Really liked this book. I thought it was really solid. It did not win me over in the first issue, but it started pulling me in issue to issue, and as we developed this character, or should I say, redeveloped this character in this new golden age as a pacifist who's developing technology so that we can non-violently handle war, but of course the powers that be want to use that technology to actually be violent and deathly and lethal. Deathly and lethal mean the same thing. But I like this conclusion, very satisfying. I like the artwork. I think it's very appropriate for this character, for this era, for this tone. So Wesley Dodds Sandman number 6, I liked it. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have Napalm Lullaby, issue number 1, a new book from Rick Remender and artist Bengal. Now, they worked together on Death or Glory. I thought that was a good book. One of my favorite things about Bengal's artwork is the sense of motion and energy, right? And that is something that you get in this book. It definitely, in certain pages, let me find the right pages, because there are some sexy pages that I cannot show you here. I mean, I probably could, but not on this video, but another time. Anyway, the sense of motion, the sense of danger, the intensity that is shown through the artwork is really cool here. The story is basically this. It's a world that's kind of a theocracy, so it's all ruled by a religion, and it's about these two characters. We find out as the story progresses that they're on a mission to kill God. So it's kind of like Blues Brothers, but kind of not. It's kind of like, what if the Blues Brothers were there to kill God? Well, that wouldn't have worked out very well because I don't think they would have been able to handle it. Maybe these people can, but it's an interesting world filled with imagination, really cool design work. I really enjoyed it. So if you like Rick Remender, if you liked Death or Glory, if you like Sacrificers and other Remender works, definitely check this one out. It is definitely worth a shot. It pleased me. I loved the artwork. I loved the experience. It took a while to really pull you in, but by the end, I was completely ready for issue number 2. So Napalm Lullaby, issue number 1 out this week. Transformers, issue number 6. It was almost the pick of the week. This is the finale to the first arc of Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, and it has everything that I've loved about this series and have been lauding this series for. Has everything all in one issue and more. It's got amazing artwork that is highly kinetically charged. It is so gritty and filled with texture. It is filled with adventure. It's filled with humor. It's filled with intensity. And it's filled with tragic and triumphant emotion, right? I absolutely love this book. There's one thing in it where I'm like, how did he know that was going to work? Aside from that, big deal, big time. This is what comics are about. The pages of Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers. What a fantastic finale to this first arc, and what a setup for the world of Transformers to come. Now, next issue, we got Jorge Corona coming in as the artist, and I'm excited, but I will shed a little bit of a tear to not see Daniel Warren Johnson draw this book, and I hope he comes back, and I hope he comes back soon. He will continue writing this book, but that energy in his pages, just off the charts. Let me just show you one. Can I show you one page that I think is just dope? Just one page. How about that right there? How about that right there? All right, that's all you're going to see. Transformers number 6 is freaking awesome. By the way, now that the first arc is done, we're doing a top-down flip through of issue number 1 very soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Then we've got the One Hand, issue number 2 from Rom V. We got Lawrence Campbell and Lee Lowridge on the artwork. Aditya Bidikar on the lettering. Tom Mueller on the design. Love this book. First thing I want to highlight is the colors. The colors are amazing. They go from this bleak, stark yellow at times to that beautiful, like, red and blue, that pink, that purpley thing. Like, I absolutely love it. This is a detective story. It goes along with the Six Fingers. This story is from the perspective of the detective, and then Six Fingers is from the perspective of the killer. Now, the one-hand killer has already been stopped twice by this dude, and now that it seems that this killer is back, or at least a copycat of this killer, all of the previous convictions of this detective, who's mere moments away from retirement, all of that comes into question, and all he's concerned about is his missing sex bot. That's all he's concerned about. But this book has a great, deliberate sense of melancholy, and it's set in a future world, and a lot of people I've seen question, why is it set in this world? It doesn't seem like it has to be. Why not? It adds an aesthetic to the book that I like, that tells you that the more things change, the more things stay the same, including the human experience and the depravity of the human capability, if that makes sense. The One Hand was fantastic, and I'm going to give it cover of the week because I love this design work, and I love how they work together with the Six Fingers covers. All right, then we got Fish Flies, issue number 5 from Jeff Lemire. When Jeff Lemire is drawing his own stuff, it works for me so much better. Now, I love Jeff Lemire. Unless he's with Andre Sorrentino, that's some of the best stuff I think he's ever done. But this book is great. It's about this dude who shoots a kid during a gas station burglary when all these fish flies around. All of a sudden, he turns into a giant bug. Then there's this young woman from an abusive father's household who finds this monster, befriends him, and now it seems like all these forces are coming against them to try to split them apart. This book is filled with a lot of emotion. This book is filled with a lot of nuance, and I love Jeff Lemire's artwork. Now, if Jeff Lemire's artwork's not for you, this book won't be for you. But if you're a Jeff Lemire fan like I am, this is one of the best things I've read from him in a while, outside of the stuff he does with Andrea Sorrentino. Then we got Our Bones Dust, issue number 4 from Ben Stenbeck. I have really liked this book. Issue 1, I wasn't quite sold on it. Issue 2 and 3, though, I really liked. And actually, after issue 3, I was curious as to where we're going. Where we're going to the final issue. This is the final issue. So I'm reading this book, and I'm digging it, and then all of a sudden we get to the end, and I'm like, that's the end of the whole thing? Are you serious? No way. That can't be the end of the whole thing. What a weird structure to this book. I love the art. I love the ideas. But as a whole, unless there's more to come, I don't know. I don't know if I can recommend the book. I mean, it's got cool ideas. I like the artwork. It really pulled it together for me in the last issue. But now here at 4, which is apparently the last issue, and maybe there's more. Maybe I'm wrong. But right now, I'm kind of confused. And I'm kind of dumbstruck. And I'm kind of befuddled. So I don't know. Our Bones of Dust, issue 4, it was just alright. Then we got Petrol Head, issue number 5. Great artwork in this book, especially the coloring. I love the coloring in this book. I love the sense of action and speed in this book. I really love the character designs in this book. The story's all right. It's starting to kind of find me a little bit disjointed from it, where I read the book and I'm amazed at the artwork, but I'm finding myself more and more disconnected from the story. But this is the end of the first arc of the end of book 1, so maybe now I should sit down, reread books 1 through 5, and see what the vibe is as a whole, because I like the artwork, but right now the story's just not making itself stand out as memorable enough for me. That is starting to wane my interest just a little bit. Then we got Dark right here with issue number 11. This book feels like it's coming up to a conclusion very, very soon, because our dude who runs this hell version of Disney World, basically, has made his big move. And when you get to the end of this book, if you've been following this book, it pays off. I really liked it. Like the character work, like the exploration. We've been exploring the history of this family. We've been exploring the character of the members of this family. And I really feel like this is an earned moment that fans who have been reading this book are really, really going to enjoy. But it does feel like it's coming to its end very, very soon, which makes sense because the artist needs to get ready to go do Destro with Dan Waters, and I'm very excited for that. I just knocked that on the ground. Excuse me real quick. All right. Then we got I Hate Fairyland, issue number 12. This was a nice one and done I Hate Fairyland story. It's telling a simple story about these 3 ghosts that have to cross this bridge with a troll underneath it, and they have to somehow get across this bridge and fool this troll, and Gertrude is involved in that, and it was really cool. The art is done in this one by Brett Bean, but I did enjoy it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was humorous. I thought it was better than the last issue. And if you've never read I Hate Fairyland and you are interested, you could just pick this one up and read it and see what you think, because this is kind of their whole vibe. All right, then we got Thundercats. Ho! Thundercats, issue number 2 from Dynamite. Got the Rob Liefeld cover. You know I had to. Speaking of which, if you missed out on issue number 1, there's a second printing of issue number 1 with the Rob Liefeld cover. That's pretty freaking cool. But issue number 2 introduces a new character to the Thundercats world, Calica. I'm not going to explain much about her, but they take the idea. Basically, it's enticing us and as readers, and it's enticing us as fans, and it's enticing us as speculators, right? They're like, okay, Thundercats number 1 did really well for us, but number 2's got a new character that we've never seen. But let me tell you something. This new character, the way it's set up in the story, it's very intriguing, and I like it. There's a little bit of a slower burn. You're not going to get the level of excitement that you get from the Energon universe. It just doesn't have that much energy. The art's fine, but it doesn't have much complexity to it. It's kind of doing its, like, poor man's Ed McGuinness thing, but I do like this book. Lionel is a little petulant for me, but I will give it the first arc to see if what we're doing is setting up Lion-O to become the Lion-O that we know and love. And I think that writer Declan Shalvey is doing just that. So Thundercats #2, I enjoyed it. I like this approach. I like this take. I just wish it had a little bit more energy in that artwork. But Thundercats #2, it's got enough energy in that Liefeld cover for me. All right, over at Dark Horse, we got John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, issue #1. I liked this book a lot. I really did. It's a concept developed, I guess, by John Carpenter, but this book is written by Michael Morisi with artwork by Alberto Jimenez, Albuquerque, Jason Wordie on the coloring, and it's about this rich dude who's trying to dig the deepest hole in the earth that's ever been done to find an unlimited source of clean, free energy. But he unleashes some kind of like ancient god or monster or something, and it's got such a quick pace to it. It's got such a sense of buoyant fun to it that I really dug it. I liked it a lot. Michael Morisi knows how to handle chaotic stories and make it fun, but still ground it in a little bit of reality. And that's what's being done here. So if you're a John Carpenter fan, if you're a sci-fi horror fan, definitely check out Toxic Commando. I thought that was really, really solid. Then we got Blue Book 1947, issue #2, James Tynion, Michael Avon Oeming. I like this book. I like it a lot. It is not like a story. It is like straight up a documentation of the real life UFO sightings from 1947. So the first volume of Blue Book went over the Betty and Barney Hill stuff. Very familiar UFO story. Very important as far as ufology goes. I liked it. I liked it a lot. But I was kind of like, oh, I thought it was going to be like a dramatization of it. But in fact, it's more like an Unsolved Mysteries, where you have the images going on and just very simple, basic, stick to the facts narration from James Tynion. But I'm digging it. And I love that in book 2, they're going into 1947, which is the year basically that caused the UFO phenomenon to be on the minds of everybody. And issue #2 continues to deliver that, continues to tell us a little bit more about this very important year in ufology. And we haven't even gotten to Roswell yet. So if you're a UFO head like me, definitely check that one out. Here's your sleeper hit of the week right here. IHeart Skull Crusher, issue #1 from Boom Studios with their Boombox imprint. This is written by Josie Campbell with artwork by Alessio Zono and colors by Angel Di Santiago. I had a lot of fun with this book. A lot. So this is about a world in which there is a sport called paintball, where you got to get the ball in the goal and kill as many people on the way as possible. And there is this woman, this team, Skull Crusher, who everybody's like super fans of, including this one young lady who all she wants to do is be a paintball player. And she has the opportunity in this world in which water is the most valuable resource, but the entertainment is this paintball thing. She has the opportunity to enroll in a competition that will give her the chance to meet her idol and even join her team. This book had a lot of excitement, it had a lot of energy, had a lot of movement, had a lot of just electric vibes just reaching out of the page. I was completely taken by surprise at how much I liked this book, the layouts, the vibe, the flow. So definitely check this out if you want something different, you want something new, and you want something with some charm, but a little bit of bite. Check out IHeart Skull Crusher, issue #1. Then we got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return, issue #2. In this issue of The Return, which is co-written by Amy Jo Johnson, who played Kimberly Hart, the original Pink Ranger in the TV show. I met her. She's awesome. She is so gracious and cool. So awesome. So I did a panel with her and David Yost, and they were great. Anyway, she was very excited about this book at that time. I'm excited to talk about it. I haven't been reading Power Rangers very much, but I like it. It's kind of like the last Ronin of Power Rangers, right? So like 20 years ago, some tragedy befell the Power Rangers, and some of them didn't make it out, right? This issue in particular gives us the details of that final battle of the Power Rangers against Rita and Lord Zed, and it's got some real big moments that are impactful and quite shocking, including the end of this book. I really liked it. It did not go where I thought it was going to go, and it actually tugged at my heartstrings in the right way, not being exploitative, but being earnest, sincere, and very real. Power Rangers The Return, issue #2. If you're like me, and you dropped out of Power Rangers book, well, the return could signal our return, 100%. All right, from Massive Publishing, we got a new one, Washed in the Blood. So lost on this book, so confused. I looked through it. The artwork is amazing in parts. It's got some really interesting kind of stuff. But man, I do not know what's going on in this, man. There's like a reality. When someone dies, they go into this reality to be reincarnated, and you can become a god or you can become just another person. And then there's all this other like fiction being used, like a Jesus comic, anti-drug comic. I have no idea. It's all over the place. It's so confusing. It's trying to be subversive, it's trying to be transgressive, but I think it's trying a little bit too hard, and it doesn't have any thread to pull it all together for me. Has some good artwork, has some good ideas, has some zany moments, but as a whole, it falls way off the radar for me. Just does not work. Then we got Little Black Book, issue number 1, a new one from AWA. It's a decent enough story. It's about this dude whose dad was apparently some kind of criminal. He inherits his house when his dad dies. He goes to the house, he finds this black book that's got the list of all these names in different towns who can clean up messes. He just wants to stay far away from his dad, but he needs to live in this house. His wife winds up getting in a situation she needs some help out of, so he has to call a number in the black book. It's a cool story, but the art's kind of dull. It's very boring. Like, honestly, it's just kind of very static. There's no energy. There's no excitement in the artwork, and it just makes it kind of fall flat. It's an intriguing enough story. It's a good concept. It'd make a good start, like a great pilot episode of a TV show, but as a comic, this is a visual medium, and you got to be dynamic. You got to be exciting. You got to do something to stand out. And this book just doesn't do that at all. Then we got Dark Spaces Dungeon, issue number 5. No, issue number 4. I believe there's one more issue after this. A really great issue. Hayden Sherman standing out, doing something different. Interesting perspectives, interesting angles, great composition, interesting ways to tell the story. This is about a dude who's been torturing people for decades, right? He builds these giant dungeons that, like, all these movable blocks will go and break your arm or pin you up. It's just all about control. The one person who has survived one of these traps is the detective hunting him down. But he's gone off of his orders, and he's taken one of the current victim's dad with him. They may have found this place. Really exciting, really cool stuff. I like this book. It's just so, like, there was not that long of a gap between issue 3 and 4, but there was a big one between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. So it kind of disjoints it a little bit, but for the most part, I'm still liking this book, and I'm waiting to see how it ends, and then we shall see. And then we got Skeeters, issue number 4. Kelly Williams is the standout here on the art. Great B-movie type stuff. It's about these mutated mosquitoes that bite people, turn them into giant mosquitoes, and this is a great finale to this B-movie book. If you love that kind of cheesy sci-fi horror type stuff, this is right up your alley. If you can't find the issues, the trade paperback comes out next month in April. And also, that's it. That's all I read. But I do want to point out this. Marvel Comics presents issue number 1. I just opened up this issue, which I just got a few weeks ago, and I went through it page by page here on the channel for a new series that we're doing, where I'm going to be doing top-down comic book reviews, talking about the books, talking about the art, talking about the history, talking about the story, talking about the creators. So if you're interested, I dropped that video this morning. It's on the channel. Check it out. Please give me some feedback, a like, and a share if possible. That would be awesome. All right, so let's recap real quick. Skeeters, a great, satisfying conclusion. Perfect for fans of B-movie sci-fi. Then we got Dark Spaces Dungeon. Really solid book. Great artwork from Hayden Sherman, but amazing story from Scott Snyder. Little Black Book, a decent enough concept, but really weak artwork that really was dull. Washed in the Blood was so erratic and all over the place, it never cohesively came together. Power Rangers The Return really worked for me. IHeart Skull Crusher is your sleeper pick of the week. Really liked that one. Blue Book, 1947. If you like UFOs, you need to read that book. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. Really fun stuff by Michael Morisi with the help of John Carpenter. Thundercats is here. We got issue number 2 and a second printing of issue number 1. It's not as exciting as Transformers, but it's still damn good, and it introduces a new character. I Hate Fairyland, a great self-contained one-and-done issue. Dark Ride really building up and earning where we're at for the fans. Petrol Head's got great art, but the story's kind of losing me just a little bit, but it's cool. Now we got a little bit of a break before the second arc. Our Bones Dust really lost me here in its final issue. Really kind of shocked and surprised me. Fish Flies issue number 5, really great sentimental melancholy type stuff from Jeff Lemire. The One Hand, great neo-noir detective story from Rom V and Lawrence Campbell. Great lettering, great coloring, just a great book all the way around. Transformers number 6 blew me away. I've read this book 3 times already. I have already read this book 3 times. I love it that much. Napalm Lullaby is a very promising start to the latest Rick Remender world that's being built very elaborately and satisfyingly. Wesley Dodds' Sandman was a very satisfying conclusion. Sinister Sons is losing me mostly because of the artwork's inconsistency. Red Hood the Hill's losing me because of the inconsistency on me knowing what's going on or who these people are. Outsiders, a very weak issue of a really solid series so far. Green Lantern playing with the mythology but not stretching it too far or too thin. Batman and Robin, Batman meet Flatline. How's that going to go? Let's find out. Action Comics, a little bit of a disappointing ending to the Bizarro story, set up excellently well by Jason Aaron, but just did not finish. Suicide Squad Dream Team, no. Amazing Spider-Man, inconsistent, starting to lose me. I'm starting to kind of get about that. Symbiote Spider-Man 2099, a direct continuation of Peter David's original Spider-Man 2099 book, so if you want that, this book is for you. What If Venom was just not for me? Avengers Twilight soared again. Love that book. Ultimate Black Panther improves on the intrigue from the first issue. Thought that was super top notch. Black Widow and Hawkeye didn't really work for me. Ghost Rider Final Vengeance didn't really work for me. But Tom King, Bilkey Evely, Matthias Lopez, and Clayton Cowles really worked for me here on Helen of Wyndhorn. I really like this book, highlighted by absolutely amazing artwork. So anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop, boom!